Right then, guys, it's been a while since John and I.
Far too long, to be honest.
Far too long since we've been stood here talking to you, but we are back. We've finally managed to get the computer sorted. We've used this month's Patreon money to pick up a mic for our podcast.
It was an exciting little shopping visit, I'm not going to lie.
It was. The Curry's work, as always, vary from absolutely useless to really useful, so, you know, it is what it is. So we've got that, meaning we'll be able to record clearer audio in the future. And we've just generally been sorting things out, ready to hit back with battle reports. And what we want to do is say a big thank you as we hit 1,000 subscribers recently, which is huge. So thank you to everyone that subscribed. Thank you to the people that subscribed and unsubscribed, like Tapper, to try and get us back below 1,000, but it didn't work.
It was desperate to be the 1,000 subscriber winner, so we hit that tipping point and then we fell back on never too late.
Never mind though, because we're now quite a bit over 1,000. We're at like 1,040 and still growing, which is absolutely great. It means we're officially YouTube partners, so
I'm going to add that to my CV.
Add it to the CV, why not? We're going to put that out there. I just wanted to take some time to basically say thank you to all the different channels and podcasts and people that have helped Web Warrior Protocols get to this point. So that's all this video is going to be. We're also going to talk about upcoming events, upcoming videos, and our second podcast episode.
Sounds like
because we bought a mic, so we're going to use it. So, first things first are the thank yous to everyone that's helped us get here. The first person I want to mention, I've never spoke to them directly. It's kind of weird, but not in a stalker way. So, the Rad Brad is a YouTube channel. You should be able to see all of these channels coming up on the screen as we are talking.
Somewhere around here?
Either around here or completely all around this. So, the Rad Brad is a YouTube channel that I've been watching for as long as I can remember. I remember back when he didn't have any kids. He's now got a daughter called Clementine, which is based off one of the games he played. I'm in the middle of watching him play the second Last of Us. And sort of his attitude towards the people that watch his content and his subscribers is what inspired me to do it the way I tried to do it. Okay. So I want to give a big shout out to him. You might have heard of him. He's got 13.5 million subscribers, so he's a little bit of a bigger content creator. He doesn't do anything wargaming miniature wise. Does walkthroughs of games, as I said, but that is the content creator that's sort of the way I've modelled how we do things and sort of how we talk and present ourselves and how we try and come across to the community. So I want to do a big thank you to him. After that, moving on to the ones that you'll probably know a little bit better.
Yeah. We've
got RichMid. So Rich, as irritating as he can be at times, and Quinn, to be fair, Quinn as well.
We have to shout Quinn out.
I think we do. The package. So RichMidGaming, another content creator for Marvel Crisis Protocol. Absolute legend. He's helped massively with any advice or any help I've needed regarding setting up the YouTube. John, have you actually met Rich? You have, haven't you?
I've met Rich a couple of times.
Yes.
A couple of times.
You're as unlucky as I am then. But Rich is absolute gent. You can check out his channel for all the tier lists you could ever want in the world.
Oh, mate, he's probably got a tier list of his own tier
list. Yeah, he's got a tier list. But that is Rich, so big shout out to Rich for that. Next up, YouTube channels. John, you've met Alan as well, haven't you?
I have indeed.
Midlife Crisis Protocol.
Great guy.
So another content creator for Marvel Crisis Protocol. He does some battle reports. He's doing really well at the minute, and I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to him.
Yeah.
After that, we've got Shades of Chaos. This one is run by a guy called Ross Borrable. Sorry if
probably butchered that, yeah.
Probably butchered. The Wolves accent doesn't help, but he is another great guy you can check out. He's done a little bit of Marvel Crisis Protocol content, but he's helped me again a lot with the advice and sort of talking through the behind the scenes stuff. And then lastly, in terms of YouTube channels, we've got Atomic Cards, who are a YouTube channel that focus on Lord of the Rings. Their output for battle reports is insane, John. I don't think you'll have seen these.
No, I haven't seen these guys.
They seem to upload a battle report like every 3 days. Absolutely bonkers. They've got their own shop. Hopefully we're going to collaborate and do something together soon, which should be ultra cool. Moving on from that to podcasts. And I think it wouldn't be fair, would it, John, to not mention the first person I ever did a collaboration
without question.
The first podcast I ever joined, and the first podcast that was brave enough to put my accent out there, you know, on the internet, and that is House Party Protocols with Will. So big shout out to him. He's got the realest and chillest Discord server for his Patreon.
Without question, yeah.
John, you and I are both part of that.
We are indeed.
We're trying to create our own sort of Discord community for our Patreon members, so you can check that out as well. And again, Will has inspired a lot of the things we do and the way we do it. So a big shout out to Will. He invested in the channel early on to help us get everything we needed, such as the computer to edit with and whatnot, the tripod, everything else like that. So I can't say a big enough thank you to him as well.
I would suggest, if you've not listened to anything by House Party Protocols, you hop onto Spotify and you get it streaming now, because it is, definitely, I'll be honest, the only Crisis Protocol podcast I listen to every episode of.
For sure. I don't listen to many podcasts myself, as hearing myself on videos does my head in.
I don't listen to it when I'm on it, but
no. But Will is definitely worth checking out. He's got so many guests on, so many like, great names from throughout the community that you'll probably recognise. Definitely worth checking out. Then we've got Tales of Crisis with Martin Swaffield. I joined him a couple of times over on his podcast, and again, another great guy, really helping the community in his area for Marvel Crisis Protocol grow. See him regularly at some of the bigger events, so I wanted to give him a quick mention. Morlocks is another podcast. I've only ever been on, I think it's with Lexa once. I think it was about the Punisher or something. So Owen, you'll love that episode if you haven't seen it anyway. Hopefully I'll be going on Morlocks again at some point in the future. Really great podcast focused around the lesser known characters in MCP, the ones you don't see as often, which is actually really, really interesting.
It is cool to listen to.
Then we've got the Throwing Dice podcast. So this is Grant, and I forget the name of his friend because I'm terrible with names. But they are another sort of up and coming podcast that you can check out. Really great content. He even came onto the channel when we did a battle report together before. So I'll have a link to that and you can check that out. Lastly, moving on to those people that aren't actually content creators themselves, but without them we wouldn't be able to do this. John, Mia, who I went to college with, was great. She invested £200 into the channel, really, really early doors, and I just wanted to give her a big thank you. Then you know Peter Atkinson by name, don't you? John described him as the Aussie.
The Aussie, yeah. We were going through the list of people we had to thank, and I was like, the Australian dude, I can't remember his name, but we 100% have to thank him.
Peter, big shout out, big thank you to yourself. We've never met because you're from Australia, well, rather live in Australia. Hopefully we get to meet one day and have the chance to do that, but I want to say a big thank you to yourself regarding that. You again invested in the channel, and without you we wouldn't have been able to get to where we are now. Lastly, we've got a gruesome twosome. We've got Nick Thompson and James Powell. So you might know these two guys from the AOS community. Nick helps run the West Midlands Warmongers. So you can check those out if you're after a game of AOS, 40k, Lord of the Rings, anything Games Workshop really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although they can accommodate Marvel as well, as we've played with them a couple of times. Absolutely great guys. Nick is one of the people I've known for the longest time in the hobby. Yeah. Absolute pillar in his sort of community. Really great to be able to be friends with him and for him to help us out. Again, both those guys investing in the channel. I want to give a big, huge thank you to those guys for that. That is everyone on the list of names, but there are numerous other people to mention. We've got Ron himself, the man, the myth, the king of the Inhumans. We've got Dr. Norbert. We've got all of our local community. John, I'm sure there's people you can think of.
Oh, there are plenty of guys I've spent tons of time playing with and things like that. Yeah.
Even Lewis Marshall and Rhys Evans, who are definitely the same person, but it's a complex story.
Have we ever seen them together?
I've seen them in the same building.
Yeah,
I don't
together.
know if it's like in the same shop.
I've never seen the two of them conversing, is what I'm saying.
Maybe they just coexist in a really strange way. So big shout out to those guys. Shout out to everyone that comes to sort of the Illuminati Invitationals, the Lord of the Rings events. Talking of which, we mentioned we'd move on to some events. So coming up in a couple of weeks, we have the reality event in the Infinity Series.
Yeah, March the 11th for anybody who's after an exact date.
So there are still spaces left. I think we've currently got 28 players, which is a great turnout. Briefly, the Infinity Series is a series of 6 events across the UK, which brings together different shops and communities, hopefully to form into a gauntlet of 6 events where you can go around and try and claim each of the Infinity Stones yourself. So we've got Tony Moore at Element Games, we've got Norbert at Bad Moon Calf, we've got Marcus running his at Curtin, Ron, the legend, is running his at Sanctuary, and then lastly, Amph is going to run one at ProTech. Huge spread, you'll be able to check all of those out.
Covers a fair swath of the UK as well.
It really does.
It's quite a nice spread.
A nice spread. Nice, great way for different communities and players to meet each other, come together and play some games together. Ultimately, at the end of it, we will have potentially a finals type event. So we may or may not invite all of the people from the events that placed in the top 3 or 4 to come along for a finals event. However, we'll also be doing a side event alongside that, where anyone that's participating in any of the Infinity events can come along and throw some dice, which will be really, really cool.
That sounds like a cool way to wrap it up, to be fair.
Then, Lord of the Rings events, we have our next one hosted by Web Warrior Protocols under the GBHL, which is Nightmares in the North. So that is just at the start of April. We still have tickets to that as well if you want to check that out. It's 650 points. It's a one-day event with 4 games, and that's looking like it's going to be an absolute blast as well. We've got similar ticket sales to our Marvel event at the minute, although the GBHL events always do well, because you can get your ranking points. Or if you Jack Michael, you can get very few ranking points.
Ooh, shade.
So you can check that out as well. Then, in terms of content that we've got coming up, we've got this video today, so you can't really count that, where we're just going through everything. However, John, we will next week be recording a battle report with a slightly more competitive focus, where I don the Badge of Shield, and you, John, will be using the Uncanny X-Men. Maybe, John, X-Men Red. We know Dom loves them and he's had good success with them, so John, you'll be checking them out and seeing how that goes.
I'm thinking about breaking the whole thematic list building just to throw something in there that we know
really
works really well in it.
Definitely. So we've got that, then we'll have the second episode of the podcast coming soon, which will also be moving over to Spotify. John, you'll be joining me for that. And we've got Jonah, whose actual name is Michael, and you might know him from the TTS scene. I know he's done huge amounts of work to sort of get all the seasons running and get everything. He used to be pretty big in Guild Ball before it self-imploded, but we won't discuss that. But I've got to get a Guild Ball joke in somewhere. So Jonah will be joining us and we will be discussing a few things. One of them is going to be the immortal, not so immortal, where does the immortal token go, Hulk?
I mean, I think we're probably going to spend 20 minutes trying to work out what the wording suggests.
We'll spend 20 minutes trying to understand it, and then Jonah can explain it as he has multiple degrees. So, although you've got degrees, so you two can try and explain it to me as I have GCSEs.
And then we'll just try and work out what you actually do about it being on the table opposite you.
Then we're also going to talk about the Mystique Senator shenanigans. So you may have seen in the last battle report I posted with me and Pat from across the Bifrost that there are some shenanigans going on at the minute.
Shenanigans is a loose term for it, I think.
So they can definitely pull some strings and do some janky stuff. Speaking of which, Pat from across the Bifrost, I want to give a big shout out to him as well. They don't really come under YouTube channel or podcast. I suppose they're a podcast. But what Across the Bifrost is an accumulation of all content creation for Marvel, which is phenomenal. So a big shout out to those guys as well. And that's the things we'll be discussing: the Immortal Hulk, Mystique Senator shenanigans, maybe even some more controversial things like painting requirements, as I know Jonah likes the controversy. So we might just throw that in now. Throw that hand grenade in there and see how that pops off for the podcast. As I said, big thank you to the patrons, as we have managed to get a microphone. It's a Blue Yeti. That's what it's called, Blue Yeti microphone to record. And a big thank you to the patrons in general for just supporting the channel up until this point and helping us to get to where we are. John, is there anyone you can think of that I forgot to mention, because I'm terrible at
I don't think specifically. If anything comes to mind after we've shut this down, we'll put a little link in the description to anybody else. But generally, just a thank you to anybody who's ever checked out any of the content, ever turned up to any of the events, anything like that has helped to make Web Warrior Protocols kind of what it is now.
Yeah, and of course, a big shout out to Boarding Brum, as you guys are the home of all of our events. You're where we host the tournaments that we've been running in the past and for the future. Without you guys, we won't really be able to do much other than twiddle our thumbs and try and fit many people into this room for tournaments.
I could still paint loads of plastic. But I'd have to buy it somewhere else. And play somewhere else. So maybe it wouldn't work.
Lots of effort. And it's absolutely great to be able to just play there whenever I want, really. I'm going to get some games in tomorrow where I'm going to beat Elliot.
I mean, that's a given though, isn't it?
Probably going to lose to Dom. I'm going to beat Dom, so it doesn't really matter. Never mind. We're going to play some dice games. Shatterpoint is quickly approaching. I've been quiet regarding it, as there's currently lots of speculation and lots of videos out there talking about what ifs and maybes. Tier lists, looking at you, Rich, probably out there already. But I've been avoiding it myself personally, because I want to wait until we've got something a little bit more solid, cemented in, to discuss and talk about. But that wraps up everything really, John, for the 1,000 subscribers video. We've mentioned everyone I can think of, and not mentioned the people I've forgotten. Apologies, because I'm dreadful for it. But yeah, that is it. John, I want to thank yourself as well.
No, that's a pleasure, mate.
We've been for food today.
We've
been on a nice journey. We've had a coffee. We've been to Asda, been to PC World to get a microphone. It's been absolutely.
It was a nice little outing.
Absolutely lovely mandate. And then we finished it off with a little home recording, which sounds very dodgy.
Just so you know, this is the home recording. This
is the only home recording. Yeah, we definitely didn't go for food and coffee and then come back and record one of those videos. Although Web Warriors OnlyFans is something I've heard mentioned before, so who knows. Big shout out to everyone. Big shout out to Kelly, my partner, as without her I probably wouldn't have been able to do a lot of this, as depression and anxiety have played a big part in why I don't do things in the past, so having her there to support me has been massive. And John, I think we should probably give a shout out for me, Shay, for yourself, Milo and Eve.
Milo and Evie, yeah, definitely the kids.
The kids, they'll see this in some years, I imagine.
Yep.
Shay, if you see this, you're probably bored senseless at this point, but thank you for being an amazing human being, an amazing son. John, your children.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my kids. They offer me encouragement every Tuesday as I'm going out to work in the morning. Normally a Tuesday, they're like, Dad, enjoy it, make sure you do well, play well, get it sorted. And then there's Rose, obviously my wife, who takes the kids for the entire evening while I come out to spend my time with you and push around plastic miniatures.
She probably hates me for it.
To be fair, she's fully supportive of the entire thing, both this and the miniature gaming, so I couldn't ask for anything better, to be honest.
A big shout out to all our family and friends that have helped make this possible. We will see you next time. We might even have a funky new outro where the audio doesn't sound like I'm lying in bed with the phone, which is definitely not what I wasn't doing before. Where I actually use the microphone to record what I say.
The question is, was it me or Kelly lying next to you?
Or was it both? So, we'll see you all next time. The next video should be a battle report between the Uncanny X-Men and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The next podcast episode should be out soon, and you can look forward to more content from us moving into 2023, as long as the computer doesn't explode.
Fingers and toes crossed.
And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you all.
So guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. As always, I want to say a massive thank you to all the supporters of the channel, and especially to those that are the channel's patrons. You guys have made everything possible, and it's thanks to you guys that we're able to buy all the equipment that we need, the train and the mats, and everything that we needed to get built up to what we are today. If you're interested in becoming a patron, then you can join us with the link down below in the description. And once again, thank you for watching.